I stared at my husband's laptop at 1:30 a.m., fury crystallizing into cold determination in my chest. The notification glowed on the screen, can't stop thinking about last night. My name is Sarah Chen, and this is the night my 14-year marriage shattered. Marcus lay beside me, sleeping soundly, completely unaware that his carefully guarded secret had just been exposed. I carefully lifted his laptop and walked to the study. What I discovered there dismantled everything methodically. Intimate emails and photos between Marcus and Elena Vasquez, his so-called business partner in their architectural firm. Plans, passionate declarations, private moments that should have belonged to us alone. One message particularly seared into my memory, 3 more days until the Portland project wraps up and I have to go back to pretending. Back to pretending. Back to me. Back to our marriage of 14 years. I took screenshots with steady hands despite the hurricane inside me. Then I placed his laptop exactly where I'd found it and returned to bed. He wouldn't be back from Portland for 4 more days. Plenty of time for what I needed to do. Some women would scream, throw things, call him immediately with accusations. Weak women. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of my emotional breakdown. No, my response would be much more calculated. The next morning, I made coffee while Marcus prepared for his flight. He chatted about finalizing the museum design with Elena, completely oblivious to what I knew. My flight's at 10, he said, checking his laptop. Elena wants to present the final blueprints today. Elena wants a lot of things, I replied, not looking up from the toast I was buttering. He shot me a curious look. She's a professional partner, Sarah. I finally looked at him then, letting a smile play on my lips that didn't reach my eyes. Of course she is. I kissed his cheek goodbye, the same ritual we'd performed for years. I love you, he said casually, like he had 1,000 times before. Safe travels, I replied, already executing my exit strategy in my mind. Once his flight status showed departed, I moved with surgical precision. 15 years as a financial analyst had taught me the value of methodical action under pressure. I emptied exactly half our joint account. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Packed one suitcase with essentials. Called my firm's managing director with my resignation. Personal emergency, I explained. Sarah, you've got 4 weeks vacation saved up, he said over the phone. This is bigger than vacation. I'm resigning. What the hell happened? Life happened. I'll send the paperwork. I left a brief note for my sister Jessica, need to disappear for a while. I'm okay. We'll contact when I can, Then I drove south with no destination beyond away from here. 10 months can strip a woman down to her essence. Living in near isolation, working with your hands, being removed from your former identity, it reveals who you really are beneath the titles and relationships. I landed in a small coastal town near Mendocino, California, when my car needed repairs. With limited cash, I found work at a local bookstore. Then later at the inn, a charming bed and breakfast where wealthy tourists paid premium rates for authentic wine country experiences. David Rodriguez, the inn owner, hired me immediately after I demonstrated my organizational skills. These tech executives will pay $3,000 a weekend to disconnect from the digital world, he explained. You're competent and keep to yourself. When can you start? David was attractive, early 40s, divorced, and capable. He flirted occasionally, but respected the clear boundaries I established. Whoever he was, David remarked once after I declined his dinner invitation, he did quite a number on you. That obvious? You've got that look of someone who survived an earthquake but is still checking for aftershocks. No rush. Some wounds need proper time to heal. Time I had in abundance. I built a new routine, up at dawn, physical work until exhaustion, minimal social interaction. I cut my hair short, lost the polished corporate appearance, gained strength from daily labor. I started keeping a journal to organize my thoughts, processing everything without the noise of well-intentioned advice from others. I wrote about rage that ran cold rather than hot, about calculating precisely how to remove myself from a situation rather than destroying it. About strategic thinking rather than emotional reaction. I wrote until I understood my own power, the power of absence. I maintained radio silence on all fronts. No social media, no Google searches of his name. Complete severance was the only path forward. During my monthly calls with Jessica, she kept me informed. He's looking for you, Sarah. Hired a private investigator. He knows why you left. He showed up at my place crying, claiming you disappeared without explanation. Wanted to know if you were safe. What did you tell him? That you're alive and that's all he gets to know. Good woman, Jess. What I didn't share with Jessica was that I'd found unexpected peace in this new existence. For the first time since meeting Marcus, I focused entirely on my own path rather than accommodating someone else's journey. The irony wasn't lost on me, I'd had to lose everything to reclaim my independence. January 22nd. I remember the date clearly because it was the day he found me. I was checking in a couple from San Francisco when the front door opened, bringing a blast of ocean air and the last person I expected to see. Marcus stood in the entryway, windswept hair slightly graying at the temples, his face thinner than I remembered, eyes uncertain as they met mine. Time compressed. The couple at the counter faded to background noise. My body instinctively tensed, ready for confrontation. "Room for one," he said quietly, approaching the desk after the couple moved away. No dramatic greeting, no tears, just 4 practical words. I could have refused him, could have told him to leave, could have demanded how he found me. Instead, I methodically entered his information, processed his credit card, and handed him a key. Cottage 5, down the garden path. Breakfast starts at 8 o'clock. My voice remained level, giving away nothing. "Thank you," he replied, his fingers briefly touching mine as he took the key. He hesitated. "You look good, Sarah." I offered no response, just a directional nod toward the cottages. I maintained my composure until reaching the staff restroom, where my stomach lurched once in physical rejection of his sudden appearance. David found me splashing cold water on my face. "That man who checked in, he's your past, isn't he?" he asked directly. I nodded once. "Want me to tell him we're overbooked? Make him leave?" I considered it briefly. "No. I've been running from this for almost a year. Time to face it head on." That night, sleep evaded me. I paced my small apartment above the inn, calculating the distance between my door and cottage 5. At 2 a.m., I walked to the cliff edge where the moon illuminated the waves and stars blazed overhead with winter clarity. I stood until the cold cleared my thoughts, focusing my resolve. By dawn, I'd made my decision. I would hear him out, say what needed saying, and continue forward with or without whatever closure he sought. Marcus was waiting in the empty dining room when I arrived to prepare morning coffee. He sat with hands wrapped around a mug of tea, looking simultaneously familiar and foreign. "You found me," I stated, making coffee with precise movements, maintaining the counter barrier between us. "It took longer than I expected. You disappeared thoroughly." He studied me openly. "The short hair suits you. Why are you here, Marcus?" Direct. No preamble. He took a measured breath. "Not to beg forgiveness. Not to try winning you back. You deserve better than that." "What I deserved was a husband who didn't cheat," I responded, voice cutting like glass. He flinched but maintained eye contact. Yes, you did. The simple acknowledgement rather than excuses caught me off guard. Early rising guests began entering the dining area. I lowered my voice. We're not doing this here. I'm working until 4. The garden gazebo is private. Meet me there if you want to talk. He nodded, and I left for the supply room where I spent the morning organizing inventory with focused precision until my mind settled. The gazebo overlooked the Pacific, waves crashing against the rocks below. I arrived first, needing to establish my position. Marcus appeared precisely at 4, now wearing jeans and a simple sweater, hair less styled than the corporate image he used to maintain. How did you find me? I asked immediately as he sat across from me. Does it matter? Humor me. My tone made clear it wasn't a request. He sighed. Your debit card. One transaction at a gas station in Santa Rosa last February. By the time the investigator tracked it, the trail had gone cold. Then Jessica mentioned you were somewhere on the coast. I've been searching the area for months, staying in different towns, showing your photo. A clerk at the grocery store recognized you. I nodded mentally, noting the security breach. I could disappear again within hours if necessary. Your turn, he said. Why leave like that, Sarah? Why not confront me? I stared at the churning ocean. What would confrontation have accomplished? You would have lied like you'd been lying for months. You'd have minimized it or somehow twisted it to blame me. Maybe promised it would never happen again. I fixed him with a direct gaze. But it wasn't a mistake, was it? It was a deliberate choice you made repeatedly. He didn't attempt denial. You're right. It wasn't a one-time thing. How long? 5 months. The number hit like a physical blow. 5 months of deception, coming home to me, sleeping beside me, all while carrying another woman's touch. Did you love her? The question emerged before I could stop it. I thought I did, he admitted quietly. I convinced myself it was something meaningful, not just cheap betrayal. That made it easier to justify. And now I know it was neither love nor special, just selfish destruction. I cut through his self-reflection. Spare me the victim narrative, Marcus. It's not victimhood, it's truth, his voice hardened. Elena ended things 2 weeks after you disappeared. Said the situation was too complicated now. The firm dissolved when rumors spread. I lost 3 major contracts. Had to sell the house. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you? No. You're supposed to understand that your disappearance was the most powerful response anyone has ever given me. His eyes glistened. You didn't rage or threaten or try to hurt her. You simply removed yourself from the equation. Left me to face exactly who I'd become without the benefit of making you the villain. Outside, seagulls wheeled over the waves, their cries carried on the ocean breeze. I'm not the same woman who left San Francisco, I finally said. That person ceased to exist the night I saw those messages. I know. I'm not the same either. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. I wrote everything down. Things I couldn't say directly. What happened with Elena, what happened after. You can read it or burn it. Your choice. He placed it on the table between us. I'm staying 3 days. Then I'll go and you'll never have to see me again if that's what you want. He stood to leave, pausing briefly. For what it's worth, Sarah, and I know it means very little now, I've never regretted anything more in my life. After he left, I stared at the envelope for hours, watching shadows move across the gazebo floor. Eventually, I picked it up and placed it unopened in my jacket pocket. Some truths required proper timing. That night, in my apartment, I finally opened Marcus's letter. 6 pages of his familiar handwriting, once intimate, now like receiving a message from a stranger. He detailed everything without excuses. How the affair began, how Elena made him feel appreciated in ways he hadn't recognized were missing, how excitement became addiction, how he compartmentalized our life from theirs. Then came the aftermath. Elena's immediate abandonment, the professional consequences, his parents' disappointment, the crushing realization that he'd traded substance for illusion. The final paragraph struck with precision, I don't expect or deserve forgiveness, but you should know that your silence was more powerful than any rage could have been. You forced me to judge myself without the distraction of your anger. It broke me in ways I needed to be broken, I read the letter 3 times, then went outside and walked the shoreline in the moonlight until my legs demanded rest. The next day, I found Marcus sitting alone on the inn's back porch, despite the cool ocean breeze, staring out at the endless Pacific. I assessed the situation, then deliberately sat in the adjacent chair. I read your letter, I stated after a measured silence. He nodded, still looking at the ocean. And nothing. It is what it is. You always did have a gift for directness. A slight smile touched his lips. Why come all this way? Why not just call? She turned to face me. Would you have answered if I called? No. There's your answer. Besides, I needed to see your face to know you're really okay. I'm not okay, I admitted. But I'm getting there. You seem stronger somehow. More definite. Losing everything has that effect. You strip life down to fundamentals. A pelican glided past, skimming the wave tops. Marcus shivered slightly. You should go inside, I advised. In a minute. He hesitated. Jessica misses you. She won't admit it, but she does. Jessica knows how to find me. She says the same about you. Maybe in the spring. It wasn't a commitment, but it was something. On the 3rd day, his final day, a major storm hit the coast. The inn lost power around noon and we advised guests to remain in their cottages. I was helping David distribute battery-powered lanterns when I realized Marcus was nowhere to be seen. His rental car remained in the lot, rapidly becoming salt-crusted from the ocean spray. He went for a walk early this morning, one of the housekeepers mentioned. Said something about wanting to see the tide pools before he left. The tide pools, a mile down a treacherous coastal path. Beautiful during calm weather, but dangerous during a storm. Even experienced hikers could lose footing when rocks became slick with spray and rain. How long ago? I demanded, already reaching for my rain gear. 4, maybe 5 hours. David caught my expression. You're not going out in this. I have to. He doesn't know these cliffs. Sarah, visibility is 0. Waves are 30 feet. You could both end up dead. I'll take the emergency radio and flare gun. Mark coordinates every quarter mile. I was already suiting up. If I'm not back in 3 hours, call the Coast Guard. The moment I stepped outside, the storm's ferocity hit full force. Wind-driven rain stung any exposed skin, visibility extending barely 15 feet. I pushed through the tempest toward the coastal trail. Under normal conditions, I could hike to the tide pools in 30 minutes. In this weather, it took an hour just to reach the halfway point. I called Marcus's name periodically, the wind swallowing my voice almost immediately. 3/4 of the way down, I found his first sign, a navy windbreaker caught on a piece of driftwood. My focus sharpened. He was here somewhere, probably disoriented, possibly hypothermic if he'd been out for hours. Another quarter mile and I spotted footprints veering off the main path, a classic sign of someone lost, likely trying to find shelter from the storm. The tracks led toward a cluster of large rocks forming a natural windbreak above the crashing surf. As I approached, I saw a huddled figure pressed against the stone face, partially hidden by an overhang. Marcus's face was dangerously pale, lips tinged blue. He was conscious but clearly in the early stages of hypothermia, shivering violently, speech slurred. "Sarah," he mumbled. "How did you find me?" "Tracking," I said simply, immediately unfolding the emergency thermal blanket and wrapping it around him. "Can you walk?" He tried standing, but his legs buckled. "Can't feel my feet." "Not a problem. I've got you." I lifted him efficiently and secured him against my chest. "Keep talking. Stay conscious." "So stupid," he mumbled against my shoulder. "Thought I'd be back before the storm hit." Less talking about mistakes, more focusing on staying awake, I directed, beginning the challenging return journey. Each step demanded maximum effort against wind and rain. My muscles working at capacity, carrying him through the treacherous coastal path. "Why did you come for me?" he asked after what felt like hours. "You could have let me disappear, too." "That's not who I am," I stated firmly. "Never was." "That's why I loved you," he whispered. "Still do." I didn't respond, concentrating on navigating through the storm. When the inn's lights finally appeared through the rain curtain, relief nearly buckled my knees. David and 2 staff members rushed out, taking Marcus from my arms and hurrying him inside to the fireplace. I remained in the doorway, suddenly recognizing my physical limits, watching as they removed his wet layers and wrapped him in dry blankets. His eyes found mine across the room, grateful, pained, filled with unspoken words. I turned away, needing distance to process what had just happened. David found me later in the kitchen, methodically drinking tea, still in my rain-soaked gear. "He's going to be fine," he reported. "No frostbite, just mild hypothermia. Doctor says he was lucky." "Good." "That was either incredibly brave or remarkably foolish," David said, sitting opposite me. "Probably both." He studied me closely. "You still care about him?" "It's complicated." "It always is." He squeezed my shoulder. "He's asking for you." Room 7. I found Marcus propped up in bed, color returned to his face, wrapped in several blankets. An 4 bag hung beside the bed for rehydration. "Thank you," he said simply as I took the chair beside his bed. "I would have died out there." "What were you thinking?" "Hiking with a storm approaching." "I wasn't thinking tactically. Wanted one last look at the place that had become your sanctuary." She adjusted the blanket. "Out there, when you found me, I said something. You were hypothermic. Altered mental state. That doesn't make it untrue. I do still love you. Never stopped. But that's my burden to carry, not yours." I stood, needing distance. "You should rest." "Wait," he called. "There's something else you should know. Elena contacted me last month. Wanted to reconnect now that her new relationship had collapsed." Her voice hardened. I told her exactly where to go. She laughed, said I was being dramatic. I turned back, surprised by the controlled anger in his expression. "That's when I knew I had to find you," he continued. "Not to win you back, I understand that bridge is burned, but to tell you that you were right to leave as you did. It was the only way I would ever comprehend the magnitude of what I'd done." "Thank you for telling me," I finally said. "I'm not asking for another chance, Sarah. I don't deserve one. I just needed you to know that at least one of us finally understands the cost." I nodded once, then left. The storm continued for 2 more days. On the afternoon the roads were finally cleared. I found him in the lobby, suitcase packed, settling his bill. "Your car's been cleaned off," I said, approaching. "Roads should be fine, but take the mountain curves slowly." "I will." He paused. "I guess this is goodbye then." "I guess it is." "What will you do now?" he asked. "For now, this suits my purposes." He nodded, scanning my face as if committing it to memory. "You know where to find me if you ever want to talk. No pressure, no expectations." "I know." I reached into my pocket. "I have something for you." I handed him my first journal, the worn notebook where I'd processed everything. "Sarah, I can't. I want you to have it. Maybe it'll help you understand everything." His fingers trembled slightly as he accepted it. Impulsively, he leaned forward and kissed my cheek, a ghost of familiar intimacy that I neither welcomed nor rejected. "Be happy, Sarah," he whispered. "That's all I want for you now." I watched from the inn's porch as he drove away, ocean mist swirling in his wake until his taillights vanished around the coastal curve. That night, I began a new journal. The first entry was direct, asterisk today, I buried the past. Not with forgiveness, I'm not there yet, but with clarity. We were both flawed in different ways. Now we're both rebuilding in different places. That will have to suffice, asterisk. 2 weeks later, my phone rang with Jessica's voice, uncharacteristically tentative. "Sarah, you sitting down?" My body tensed. "What happened?" "It's Marcus. He was in an accident on Highway 101 outside Monterey. Head-on collision with a drunk driver." The world shifted momentarily. "Is he?" "He's alive, but it's critical. Multiple surgeries. They're uncertain." She paused. "His brother Alex requested your number. Said Marcus has been asking for you." I found myself checking flight times even as we spoke. "Give Alex my number." Alex called an hour later, his voice raw from exhaustion. "Sarah, I don't know if you'll come, but he keeps asking for you. The doctors say we should prepare for the worst." After pacing my apartment for hours, wrestling with conflicting impulses, I made my decision. I would visit briefly, make my peace, and return to California without being drawn back into emotional entanglement. The flight to San Francisco gave me time to prepare mentally, clean, controlled, conclusive. Alex met me at the hospital entrance, embracing me tightly despite our previously distant relationship. "Thank you for coming," he whispered. The man in the hospital bed barely resembled the Marcus I remembered. His face was mottled with bruises, one eye swollen shut. Tubes and wires connected him to various machines. I approached deliberately, taking the chair beside his bed. After brief consideration, I placed my fingers against his uninjured hand. His uncovered eye fluttered open. Recognition dawned slowly through the medication haze. "Sarah," he whispered. "You came." "I came. Didn't think you would." I needed closure. A small smile touched his cracked lips. Always honest. I sat with him through the afternoon, maintaining emotional distance while providing the human contact he clearly needed. When I stepped out for the evening shift change, Alex confronted me in the waiting area. "I'm returning to California tomorrow," I stated. "I can't be part of this situation long term." "So you're just going to leave him when he might be dying?" "I'm not responsible for his recovery. I came to say goodbye properly. That's all I can offer." When I returned to Marcus's room, he was awake, watching the door as if expecting me. "You're leaving," he said immediately. "Tomorrow morning." He nodded slightly, wincing. "I understand. You've rebuilt your life. I have no place in it. Before you go, he continued, gathering energy. Did you read my journal? The one I left at your apartment? I shook my head. Not yet. Please do. When you're ready. I need you to understand why I did what I did. Not to excuse it, but to explain. He gestured weakly toward the bedside cabinet. Top drawer. I have something for you. Inside was a manila envelope with my name. Open it later, when you're home. I pocketed it without examining it. I should go. Let you rest. Will I see you before you leave tomorrow? I considered lying, then gave him truth. No. This is goodbye, Marcus. He nodded, a single tear escaping. I understand. Thank you for coming at all. Take care of yourself, Marcus. You too, Sarah. Be happy. You deserve it. That night in my hotel room, I opened the envelope. Inside was a property transfer deed for a small cottage on 2 acres near Sausalito, purchased 8 months ago and now being transferred to me. His note read, *, this was meant to be a peace offering when I found you. A place where you could have space away from everything. Now I want you to have it without conditions. It's yours whether you ever speak to me again or not, *. I stared at the documents, conflicted. After consideration, I decided to keep the papers. The choice would be mine alone. David met me at the small regional airport, leaning against his truck with casual confidence. Welcome back. Everything handled permanently, I replied, tossing my suitcase into the truck bed. You look different. Lighter somehow. I made some necessary decisions. About your ex or about your future? Both. He nodded, understanding the distinction. Speaking of futures, there's a manager position opening at the new eco-resort near Big Sur. If you're planning to stick around. I am. She smiled genuinely. Glad to hear it. I'd hate to lose my best staff member. Is that all you'd hate to lose? I asked, surprising myself with the directness. His eyes widened before he recovered. That depends on what's being offered. Dinner tonight. Just us. I think that could be arranged. 2 weeks later, I received a brief message from Alex, * Marcus is out of critical condition. Long recovery ahead, but doctors are cautiously optimistic, *. I read it once, then deleted it without responding. That chapter was closed. The same day, I accepted the position at the Big Sur resort and signed the papers accepting ownership of the Sausalito cottage, not as a connection to Marcus, but as an asset I could use on my own terms. That night, David and I hiked to a bluff overlooking the Pacific. The sunset painted the ocean surface in brilliant golds and crimsons. Beautiful view, he commented, standing close enough that our shoulders touched. New perspective, I replied, understanding we were talking about more than just the seascape. He turned to face me. Is this really what you want, Sarah? No lingering ghosts? I considered the question seriously. I've dealt with my ghosts, made peace with the past. I'm ready for what's next. And what is next? I gestured toward the vast ocean before us. This. Now. The life I've chosen, not the one I lost. I can work with that, he smiled. As the last light faded from the sky, I felt the final weight of my old life lift away. I had disappeared once out of necessity. Now I was reappearing by choice, stronger, clearer, and entirely on my own terms. It was enough. More than enough.